Okay. I've already pressed it.
Cool, I'm going. He's in.
We've absolutely fucked it. Like, right, this is our second start on the first episode. But yeah, here we go. I think we're going to try and get this done.
Yes, please. Let's try our best.
Ayo.
Ew.
That's like I don't think I will ever get over how fucking good that song is.
No, me neither. Like I said to Jim, I was just like, country bumpkin vibes only. I didn't hear from him for a couple of days, and then he was like, "Is this any good?" And I was like, "Aye, that's perfect, cool."
Absolute perfection. Completely knocked it out of the park. I just like the first time you sent me it, and I was just sitting on my couch in the house, and I was just like, "Oh, what is this?" Just like straight up to the ear to give it a listen, man. Oh, it was beautiful. It was so good. So we're gonna start off right away with a massive shout out to Jim Gray for the music. Incredible musician, incredible tattoo artist, incredible person.
He's a genius.
Just in general.
He's just perfect.
He is, yeah. Yeah, it's like, be shit at something, though.
Yeah, he's also really good looking as well. I hate it. I just, like, every time I see him, I'm just like, alright. Alright.
Aye, so massive shout out to Jim for the music. It fitted what we had talked about previously. It kind of fit the idea of what we were going with, and somehow he managed to just pick up on what we were looking for without really explaining it well. Just like, have you ever heard the Shit Happens song?
We gave him
Please write that.
We gave him a really shitty brief, and he was like, "Okay, let me work with this," and he smashed it. So it was perfect. Like, he came to me with the file, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna feel really shitty if I have to like go back and be like, man, this is so wrong." But I was like, "Oh, perfect, thank you." Like, first try, unbelievable.
First try. That's the other thing. So infuriating. We've been trying to write music for fucking 10 years and just still can't do it.
Still can't
not
get
figuring
there.
It out. Another shout out that we'll need to give is we need to thank our good friend Duncan Fyfe for the logos he made for us. He made us looking really, really cute. And I also hate the fact that he included my grey hair.
I specifically told him to put in the grey hair, if I'm being completely honest.
You're such a son of a bitch.
Because
my God.
he's seen like old photos of you. Like, I don't know, he doesn't go that like hunting for photos of you very often. But he was like, "Oh, have you got any like reference photos?" So I picked up a couple of photos, sent them to him, and I was like, "Man, these photos all have like dark hair." But in real life, he's got like this fucking Malin streak. He's on his way to looking like Jay Mascis. And it was like, cool. So I sent him a photo I took. I sent a photo you sent me. And then the photo that you posted on New Year's Day, I was like, just because. You know, the one of you wearing...
What one was that?
The one of you wearing a blazer, Doc Martens and pants. Like, that was it.
Oh, yeah. What you
the
mean?
sunnies, like...
I mean, like, I will take absolutely no credit for that. All of the creative direction came from my wife.
She
so
styled it really well.
Yeah, that's obviously what she sees when she looks at me, but in reality, it's like looking at Mr. Blobby wearing a t-shirt.
A t-shirt and a beanie, because I don't think I've ever seen you without one.
That's usually how it goes down. So yeah, to go back to what we were saying, massive shout out to Duncan Fyfe for those logos. They look so cool. I've never enjoyed looking at my face so much in my life. And I like how the one, like, because he's done a couple of different versions of it. The one where it's like the two of us next to each other, he has our faces touching so close.
Oh yeah.
And it just makes me feel so nice, because I just like, can't remember the last time our faces smushed. So it's just really nice to have that.
It's
like,
been a while.
Infographic. It's been a while. It's been some time, you know.
But yeah, he smashed it out of the park with them.
Absolutely destroyed it. It's nice having those. It's nice having those people in our repertoire. I mean, I say our. It was your repertoire. You took that on and managed to make that happen. So it's nice having those people around, like proper creatives around that we can kind of lean on. You know.
Yeah, the ones that actually know what they're doing. Because I tried to do some stuff on the iPad, but I was just like, nah, I can't do this. I have no idea what I'm doing.
We're not professionals.
Nope.
We're not even not professional. Well, I mean, like, you are obviously a professional barber. Like, you're probably I mean, you're definitely the best barber I know, because I don't really know that many.
Well, that's good.
But you're the best one I know, so I would call you a professional. But I'm not a professional at anything.
I mean,
no, in any way.
I mean, you have a corporate schmuck job, so that's good. So I guess in that sense, you are professional. You are part of the rat race, you know? If anything, you are one of the most successful people I know. If we were to go by, like, society standards, you have, like, that corporate job, you're making money, and, like, you have an office that you have to go into. You're the only one of my friends that has an office they have to go into. So when you said you're not professional, you're actually the most professional out of every single person I know.
Well, all I need you to do is, to get any kind of verification, is go and speak to the people I work with, and none of them will agree with you. They all, like, I mean, I'm not gonna, obviously not gonna, like, not gonna talk about where I work or anything, but there were people, like, I know this from speaking with other people, that when I joined, there was people in my office that really didn't like me based on the way I presented myself.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah. You don't need to do that to me. I mean, I'm a bit like, there's most of me is just like, what you see is what you get. Like, I'll be the way I am because it's just where I'm comfortable. And going into that place, you're right, it is quite a corporate environment. There's a lot, like, the companies, it's a big company. It's got huge contracts for Scottish government and stuff. So it's like, it is a very corporate environment. So walking in with, like, not wearing a shirt, because I can't do shirts. Even if I'm wearing a shirt, it's open with a t-shirt underneath. And, like,
no, I like the idea of you walking into your office, like, button down, not fastened, gut just hanging out, just be like, oh, all right.
First day on the job, walking in like I'm Jeff Goldblum.
It's 9 to 5, baby. Let's do it.
But so, like, walking in with the shirt, a little t-shirt underneath, trying to tuck something in to try and look a little bit professional, but then also wearing, like, tie-dye socks that my 4-year-old made. And, like, I've had the conversation with a couple of people that are just like, yeah, there was certain people in our company that weren't fond of you at first, but it is nice to know now that I have turned it around.
You've proved yourself to the other corporate schmucks. Perfect.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't need their fucking approval at the end of the day. I'm going to be me. And I don't give a shit what they think at the end of the day.
And I think that's why this works so well. Because I was saying this the other day, like, you are exactly who you are. And you've never changed as much as I maybe have wanted you to change at some points. You've just stayed the same. The exact same. You're like, oh, I'm going to wear these pink trousers. I'm going to wear this white, like, beanie. I'm going to wear these, grotesque yellow Converse. Deal with it. I'm like, okay.
I'm just going to live my life, man.
No, it's fair.
That's all I'm here for. Right, I'm going to crack open a beero.
Nice.
This is something that actually, before we do, we've known each other for a long time.
Yep.
Naturally. But we've only ever had a drink together in 10 years or 11 years we've known each other once.
Yep. One time. That is because I have been sober for a decade. Like, it's not because we were avoiding it in any sort of way. I just didn't drink for a long time.
Yeah, and that kind of actually moves on to the note that I've got for today. Is I kind of wanted to ask you some questions about that, if that's all right with you.
Oh God!
So before we talk
sucker
about your
punched
sobriety,
with that. Jesus.
See, before we talk about your sobriety,
yep.
Could you please do me a favour and open that can of beer on your table?
There we go.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm of course okay with it. If there's anyone that I feel comfortable speaking to about it, it is you.
Oh, good. And then we put it out to the internet to listen to.
And then we send it to the masses, you know? Here's my
open up your heart to me.
deepest, most personal thoughts Oh, I'm really happy
Yep.
I can share this with my friends and the universe. Mm.
That's the vibe, man. That's where we're going. Right. Well, I'll just open up with. I slightly know the superhero origin story behind you going sober.
Yep.
Um,
My Uncle Ben
mean,
got
you
shot
would've
down
been-
in the streets, and I just thought this was the time.
Don't bring Uncle Ben into this, man. It's too fragile for a Thursday. Can't do it. You would have been quite young though, right?
Yeah, I was 18. I'd been drinking
18.
drinking legally for what, 4 months, 5 months, and then decided that was it. But I'd never really drank too much before my 18th, if I'm being honest. Like, there was a few legendary house parties back in the day that, you know, it would have been rude not to. There's one amazing photograph of me, actually. I must have been 17 at the time. And I'm just like a mess. I'm holding like a pint glass, and all you can see it, and there's some sort of blue liquid. And I know for a fact I had a glass bottle of Magners. Like, remember you used to get like the big glass bottles of Magners?
Yeah.
Like stuffed in my back pocket, like ready to go. I was like,
yo, those must have been some real big pants if you could fit
they were like
a bottle of Magners in.
Do you remember like the drop crotch like chino jeans, chino like trousers you used to get from Top Man?
Yeah.
They had like cuffed ankles. They were like stretchy at the waist. Like the pockets on the back were massive because like there was so much material that they just had to fill it up with something. So it was like straight down the back.
No, I mean, so that was another question I was actually going to ask. Is like, did you drink a lot before you stopped? Like, was it a thing for you, or was it just like what you're saying there, kind of at parties, or if you were at the pub, or what?
It was at parties and nights out. Mainly like, you know, just nights in the cat house. But my issue was that I wasn't very good at it. I have been a lightweight forever. Like, when I did drink, I was like a couple like not even like 2 cans, like can and a half gone. Like, I was like already feeling it. So when I did, you know, obviously alcohol is a depressant drug, and it exacerbates like all the bad feelings that you have, and that's exactly what it did for me. Because when I was like, you know, the same as everyone was, 17, 18, still trying to find myself as a human being, trying to work out my place in this world, I was crap. I was a crap person. Like, I was sad, I was angry, I was unemployed, probably wasn't in the best relationship, like, you know, like going like forth after that. Like, there was a lot of stuff that when I did drink, really like came to light, and it wasn't a fun time. I'd spend most nights like fighting back the tears if I was out with people, you know, because like I didn't want to be that guy just crying, like feeling really bad, bumming everyone else out. So I was like, I'd feel, you know, I didn't really enjoy myself on the outside. It looked like I was having the best time, but you know, the way that young males do, bottled that up, and obviously, yeah, I just decided that it probably wasn't for me, because I saw those signs, I knew those signs, and you know, like problems with drink and stuff run in my family, so that was always in the back of my mind, and I knew that I was definitely, I wasn't using the drink as a way to escape those problems, but I knew that when I did drink, those problems weren't on my mind as much until they were, and then it was really bad.
Yeah, and then you really dipped. It's really interesting that like I'm not going to pretend to understand anything about alcoholism. Like I've not really had any problems with alcohol, and I don't really think it runs in my family or anything, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend. But it is really interesting when you hear these kind of stories that it's like it's never just the alcohol that's the problem. It's what else is going on internally with that person.
Of course, because
this amplifies it, and the drink just makes it worse, you know?
Yeah, because this is the thing, like, the the problem with addiction and things like that is it's not the substance. It's never the substance. The substance is the means to the end. You know, it's the thing that everyone thinks is going to make them feel better, or it is the thing that makes them feel better when they take it. The real problem with addiction is it's a mental health thing. Like, and it's probably why I look so like. I look at like the way that certain countries handle like drug crimes or whatever, and like addiction, and they vilify it. They make it look like it's a bad thing, and you know, there's people thrown in jail for a number of reasons, you know. But really, when it does come down to it, it is a mental health issue, like from the get go, which is why when you hear people being like obviously drugs is the big one. You don't get thrown in jail for having too many drinks, you know, like. But like drugs is a big one because for the most part, well, completely in the UK, drugs are illegal, you know, like, and that's why you see so many people in jail for drug-related crimes. Again, the people who are mainly in jail are people who are dealing or caught in possession. And those people again are a means to an end. You don't just end up in it because you thought it was a good career path, you know. You get into it because there was probably problems somewhere down the line that kind of resorted you to a quote-unquote life of crime, you know, like... So I think the way that the country vilifies it is really kind of skewed people's ideas and thoughts on what addiction actually is. Addiction looks like a crime when at the base it's basically just, these people are feeling feelings that they don't know how to deal with. And this is how they are doing it. That's bad. Throw them in jail. You know, like that's always been my stance on it anyway.
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to suppress it in the hopes that it would, like, it's just so they don't need to look at it anymore. Almost
100%.
Like, let's throw them in jail so we don't need to see it. We'll suppress that. But instead of, like, you send somebody into jail or you send somebody to prison in that context, and it makes them go deeper a lot of the time. They'll get into a lot more trouble off the back of that, because as soon as we know what this country's like, as soon as you've been in prison, it's impossible for you to have a life after that as well.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that is, I think that's true for most countries in the world. I think the rehabilitation schemes coming out of prison aren't probably the best globally. There's a few countries where they definitely like they kind of charge it head on, like while you're in prison, they start to kind of bring you back into like a functioning member of society, and they try their best to really work things out. Like, I know a lot of like Scandinavian countries have like different work programs in place within prison, and even when they're in prison, like not that they're a nice place to be, but it's not a lot of them, it's not like a stone cell with a bed, you know, like it's not a good bed sit, but it's like a bed sit kind of situation. You're in a space where you're kept there because you have committed a crime, and now you have to learn about that crime. That's basically how they deal with it. It's not you're in jail and now you have to be punished.
Be in jail.
Aye.
You have to be in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like some of those ones that actually look like an Airbnb that I've stayed in before.
Oh yeah.
Like some of them are actually pretty nice. But yeah, no, that like I think there's a lot. I think it's particular Norway I've seen that they do quite a lot of rehabilitation stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of what they do is like outside time. I don't like saying outside time because it makes them sound like kids, but like it's like a lot of things that they do is like outside, and they do like kind of construction work, or they do like gardening, like horticulture, all that kind of stuff. Like just anything that's going to make them be employable or give them some sort of career path on the outside of like the four walls that they're confined in for their...
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we took this a very heavy turn.
You did
already.
this.
I was like, I literally just asked you, did you drink before you stopped drinking? And now we're talking about the Norwegian prison system. What is going on?
You wanted to get to the bottom of this, you know.
I know. I did. Right, so. Was there, my next question would be then, was there a catalyst? Was there a day where you went, fuck this, can't do it anymore?
Yes and no. So there was no bad thing that happened that made me go, right, I'm not drinking anymore. The bad thing that did happen was a 2-day hangover. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like I can't feel like this anymore. You know, so yes and no. Like there was the hangover that was really bad, but there was no like mental thing that happened that made me doubt myself or like change my choices. I just kind of, I guess it just kind of the lead up to it all. I kind of seen it all coming, and I was like, I should probably not do this for a while. Didn't think it would be 10 years. But
yeah, you thought you would maybe have just like a little kind of like, we'll take some time off, we'll just like let the batteries recharge, but then it turned into something bigger.
Yeah.
Did it start off then? Because I know you kind of I don't want to say identify, I don't know if that's right, but you kind of like took on the mantra of being straight edge for a chunk of that time. Did that come right away?
No.
Or was it like you kind of pumped the brakes, you're like, right, I'm going to quit the drinking for a bit, and then you kind of found that world of straight edge culture?
Yeah, so that's basically what happened. I was like pumping the brakes for sure. Knew that I had to just take some time away from it, reassess, and just kind of decide what was happening. At the time, was kind of getting more into going to shows and all that kind of stuff, and like punk and hardcore shows and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, like, you fall into it where you're just like, oh, cool, straight edge, what's this? And then you kind of like learn about it and know all that kind of stuff. I made a lot of friends through it, you know, and a lot of friends, or a lot of like the guys that I knew at the time were like straight edge. And I think it kind of, I was like, oh, I don't do any of these things. I'm like these guys. I guess I'm straight edge. So I think that happened like, it kind of like happened in the March or whatever, but I just said I'd been like straight edge since that January, you know, like.
Right, okay.
Just.
Okay, so you're saying that you kind of pumped the brakes in January time, and then by March you'd kind of found this subculture of, what is it, like hardcore punk subculture?
Aye, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, like so it was January 2011. My last like to do was like Hogmanay New Year's Eve, and yeah, it was a big one. It really was a big one, and it was a good time at the time. We were at a farm out in Carluke, and at a friend's house, and we were supposed to stay there for 2 days. Obviously, New Year's Day, there's no public transport at all. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
But we woke up the night before. Let's say it was super messy. The morning was also super messy. And me and my friend woke up real hungover. I looked at him and was like, I can't do this. He was like, yeah, I can't do this. Bless him. Like, got his mum to drive from like from Pollock Shields like to Carluke to come pick us up on New Year's Day because we were just burst. My family.
She was probably also highly burst and all.
She said nothing the entire time we were in the car. My family were away. They spent it in Oban at some hotel. I'm like, all right. So they didn't come back. I was just like gouching in the house, just like, I hate this. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was around about.
And just. No, you go. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's kind of when I decided it was probably for the best because that felt awful and I didn't want to do that ever again.
Yeah. Right. Okay. No, that's interesting. That it's like, I think I always had it in the back of my head, knowing you, that it was a choice at the beginning with the straight edge stuff. But so it's quite interesting to see that it was just more of like I'm taking a break, and then it morphed into something else. It morphed into something a lot bigger. Was it a particular band or a particular genre that you identified with the most that kind of tipped you towards that? Because I know there's a lot of bands that you listen to that are straight edge. I mean, the only bands that I personally listen to are maybe like Minor Threat. I think they identify, or they did at the time. Band Set It Straight is probably the only other straight edge band that were like super in your face straight edge about it. So I don't really know the bands, like the kind of main bands that were like the kind of driving force for the culture. Yeah,
so I think when I got into it, probably not. Like, I'd heard the names like Minor Threat and all that kind of stuff like thrown around and just didn't really. It was fine, you know. It was punk. It was cool enough.
Yeah,
did the job.
Yeah.
But then like when I kind of got into it more and It was Half Heart with the band that were like,
Mm. Mm.
they weren't super in your face about it. Like they weren't like, oh, you're straight edge for life or any of that kind of stuff. They were just like, oh, we are sober, clear thinking, you know, like all that kind of stuff, which really, for me, was more my stance, because I never really liked the idea of being kind of preachy about it, or, you know, ramming it down people's throats. There is bands that I like that, you know, but
Yeah.
aye, it was Half Heart were mainly the band, because they handled it in a way that kind of, you saw where they came from with it, you know, like they were telling stories about it in a way that people could resonate with, and that definitely made sense for me.
Because they were more about like kind of clear-headedness of straight edge, weren't they? They were more about the actual, what's the word for? I don't want to use spirituality for it, but they were.
They were like
they were very
philosophical
open
about it, you know, like
yeah, philosophical. That's the word. Yeah, fucking spiritual about it. No man, the philosophy. That was the philosophy. Like I need to get a dictionary for this fucking podcast. Yeah, it was. They like I didn't like Have Heart for the fact that they were straight edge. I liked their openness about things. So like I identified with the same kind of things that you're saying, but not on this, not getting tipped onto the straight edge side, if you know what I mean. I liked the way they questioned things and the way they portrayed things in their songs, and then also it was just really fast and angry at the same time. So that's always like, nice when you're 17 years old.
they always like the song like Armed with a Mind, you know, like it kind of like makes sense, you know. You're like, oh, your weapon against it all is having some sort of like clear mind where you're able just to kind of talk about it and face your problems head on, and for me I think that's a lot of what it was about. Not that I was saying like I was sober and instantly all my problems were easier to deal with, blah 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 blah. No, that is not the case whatsoever, but it made you kind of step back a little bit and be like, all right, okay, so this is happening, you know. You could just like ignore it, which I did ignore a lot of problems for a long time and still do, you know, like
yeah.
I think this was the whole thing. Like you'd see a lot of things being like oh, straight edge means I'm better than you and all that kind of garbage.
Yeah.
It's not. Straight edge means I'm also a human being that's just like you, you know. But I just don't drink. That was it.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that was
it. I just don't drink. I think just coming from when I met you, I mean, I didn't know you were straight edge for a while. I think I'd known you for a few years before I was really like, I didn't really know that, because it wasn't something that we talked about or that you talked about. So, no. I mean, I didn't know many, if I'm being honest. I knew a couple of guys. I mean, I'll go back to what it was like when I was in high school. There was a few guys that pretended they were. see those fucking guys that used to like. I don't know if you like came across any of them. Like, I know that one of the main kind of staples of straight edge was having like the black X's on the back of your hands. Yeah,
that was something I never did. And like the whole, we'll call it 10 years. Technically, it was 9 years. It would have been 10 years this January, but whatever. Like the world locked down, and I thought better of it. Like that was something I never did. Because it was something I didn't really like talking about. Like, it was something that I did for myself. It wasn't something that I did for anyone else, you know?
Yeah, and that was like their way of kind of identifying where they stood with it. I remember, I think it was the guys in Your Demise used to do it, like used to have it on the back of their hands, and there was different bands that did it. But there was guys that I knew that would do it, and then we'd be in Kelvin Grove sucking down a 2-bomb of Strongbow. Like, bro, do you see the back of your hands right now where you hold that 2-bomb? Like, where do you stand in life? I mean, obviously, when you're a kid, man, you just do some stupid shit, and you see somebody you think's really cool doing something. Like I mean, the guys wear Your Demise. Like, see when the Blood Stays in the Blade EP came out and stuff, like, between me and my friend group back then, that was like huge. That was such a big EP in our kind of like in our lives. Like, we were so obsessed with it. And so there was a couple of the guys that would do like the X's on their hands and shit.
Yeah. And
then it was just like, and then I remember asking like, why do you do that? And they're like, oh, it's straight edge. I'm like, all right, so what does that mean? Me just being the guy who doesn't know anything until he asked the question. I was like, so what does that mean? And they're like, oh, it's something to do with like not taking drugs and stuff. And I'm like, right, well, stop smoking weed, bro. Like, you're doing it literally in my face.
You're taking those drugs. What are you doing?
Yeah, so my like history with straight edge wasn't great because it was mostly posers that I came across that talked about it and thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But then you do actually meet the people that properly practice it and they properly believe in it, and it's like, that's admirable to me because I can't stick to anything.
Yeah.
I can't stick to a damn thing. See these people that properly are in it, you're like, that's admirable in my eyes that you're so convicted in what you believe in, that is just how you live your life.
Yeah. It was. I think for me, it was easy because drinking was never a big thing. Like, it was, and like I say, it wasn't like I had a problem with it or anything. It was just I didn't like how I was when I did drink. So for me, it was never really a big thing to not drink. It was just now I do something with a name attached to it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a name that I probably didn't really identify with for a very long time. Like, whilst I was still sober, you know, like I was like 2 years in, I got like the classic 3 X's tattooed on my leg, you know.
Yeah. Still there.
And it was probably like not too long after that I was kind of like, this is kind of dumb. Like not not that I think being sober is dumb, and not that I think being straight edge is dumb, but I think for me, it was something that I very quickly didn't identify with anymore because,
yeah,
I don't know, it didn't feel like I was like doing anything, like, you know.
Yeah, you weren't in it. Yeah.
And that's fair. Like, there's people I know. Like, I remember having like conversations with people like not drinking yet or not even thinking about drinking yet. It was a couple of years ago. I was like, you know what? Like, I'd like, I whatever for straight edge, you know? Like, it's whatever. Whereas, like, the person that I was talking to was like, I would straight up die for straight edge. And I was like, whoa. Wow. Okay, man. Like, that's super intense.
So you're saying this was a few years ago? Yeah,
it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
So do you think this person, like, they still feel that way? Like, do you keep in contact with this person? Like, do they still feel that way? Like,
I think they still feel this way, yes. But also, I think that's just who this person is. They're quite intense. So I think that's I think that's just them saying the thing. You know, like, I don't think they would actually die for it, because I think if I'm being like truthful about it, they don't have that in them. But it's. I just don't think it would really be I think it was just a statement, you know, that this was like super important to them in their life, whereas I was just like, just don't care, really. Cool. Like,
yeah.
And that's kind of like when I started. So I kind of had like the thought about it before. I was like, I'm a straight edge because I don't drink, or do I not drink because I'm straight edge? And as soon as as soon as I said those words out loud, I was like, now I'm going to have to think about this properly. Like, that was when I really started, like, not doubting myself, but, like, you know, like, doing a bit of the old soul searching, you know. I was trying to get deep. I was trying to figure out who I was, you know. Like, I was 18 years old when I stopped drinking. I was still definitely trying to find myself as a human being. 10 years later, where I'm in a totally different situation from what I was in back then. You know, I'm definitely a happier human being. I don't exactly have many problems in my life that aren't super white privilege of me, you know, but like, I live a very comfortable life, but I'm still 10 years on trying to figure out who I am as a person, you know. And I think that was a big part of it last year. And obviously a lot of things happened last year. There was a big breakup, there was, you know, the world shut down because of a pandemic, you know, there was a virus. It was literally killing millions of people now. You know, there was a lot going on, and a lot of it for me ended up being stuck in a room, my childhood bedroom, which I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Like, I was stuck in here, and you had to confront your thoughts because you had forever to think about, or it felt like forever. You had forever to think about and kind of deal with all these things. Wild.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to say this and make it sound like I'm trivializing how you have had to deal with the past year, but do you feel now that that time of reflection has benefited you as much as having to be stuck in that room, and not even like what you're saying, being stuck in your room with your thoughts? You had to sit in that room with, like you just said, like you mentioned there where there was a bad breakup. You had to sit in that room with the memories, and you literally couldn't escape it because it was all the memories were basically lived inside of that room.
Yeah.
There was
a lot of memories in this room for sure, and that was hard. It was definitely a big part of it. And you know, when the government and stuff kind of decided that you could go outside and do, like, go for a walk and all that kind of stuff, I tried my best to go out and do all those kind of things, but it didn't quite sit well with me, if you know what I mean. So I ended up coming back to this room and then just sitting and stewing in it because that was weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously my situation has been very different to yours. Like, both myself and I've had to work from home the entire time. We've had the 2 kids in the house the entire time. So it's almost like I kind of look at it, as much as it has been the most stressful year of our lives, period. Like, we've had some shit happen in other years, but I still feel like this year has genuinely been the most stressful. Obviously, it's been the same for so many people, like literally millions at this point.
Yeah.
But our situation is so different to yours that I do genuinely feel quite fortunate, almost, that both me and Emma had to stay busy because we had to work. Yeah. Because we had to look after our 2. Because I mean, when the lockdown happened, when did the lockdown happen? In March?
Yeah, it started in March
last year. So Mac would have been. When was he born? He was born in the August the year before. Yep. So Mac would have been like 6 months old. Yeah. When the lockdown happened, and he's now literally, we've had to bring him up in a lockdown or in a pandemic for a year now. Yeah. So I think having had to stay busy has been a bit of a, I don't like the term blessing in disguise, but I don't have another term for it. But it has been like, but I think if we were stuck in here, me and my wife had the same. I had a conversation similar where we said, like, imagine we had to do this lockdown without the kids here. If it was just you and I in this house, I was like, God, that would have been so boring. Yeah, so boring. Like, I love my wife to bits, you know I do, man. But like, having the kids there and having those people around has made it almost easier but more stressful at the same time. So I cannot identify with what you've had to deal with whatsoever in this time, because you have literally had to do it alone for the most part.
Yeah, and you know, like, I have had my friends, you know, like, it's been good. Like, there has been like a lot of cool things that have happened because of this pandemic. Like, I am in the best shape of my entire life because I definitely tried to. I had to find something to do, so I started like working out from home. I'd started working out maybe like the year before, and you know, I was going to the gym and it wasn't really doing.
I'm taking a note of that for another podcast where we can open up that door.
Okay, but like, it's so I had to find something. So like doing a home workout was definitely something that I popped into my routine because I had to. So I got in good shape. I had a lot of time to work on a lot of writing that I wanted to do. I didn't do as much of it as maybe I'd have liked because I'm one of these people who need stuff to happen before they can actually go out and write. Yeah. You know, I met a really cool girl, so that was real sick. Like, you know,
that was cool.
That was great.
That's pretty cool. I mean, there's the one thing that I will take away from between us two is I genuinely think our friendship is, I wouldn't say better because it was never bad, but like I feel like we talk more now than we did at this time last year.
Oh yeah, like, and that's not a bad thing.
We speak to each other. We speak to each other every single day.
Yeah, every day. We were
like,
supposed to meet up this morning, but you forgot because your brain is broken. To go for a run, And then you were like, "Oh, I've already been out a run." And I was like, "Well, that's me off the hook for today. I don't have to go running anymore."
Yeah, exactly. It was a favour.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I meant to do that. I obviously meant to do that.
But yeah, our friendship's definitely not blossomed because it's always been the same. But we could go weeks without speaking to each other and just pick up the same conversation and be like, "Cool, perfect." But now we just speak all the time anyway, and it's sound, you know, like it's cool.
Yeah, I feel like I've actually started doing that with like a few people. Like, I'll not use any names, but like one in particular that we're both really close with. Like, I speak to them a lot more now than I ever did.
Yeah.
Just down to the fact that it's like, I don't know if it was maybe like you kind of got the conversation out more when you were around people, or it was maybe just like we're all just craving that like communication with somebody that isn't like our family or our other half, or literally a fucking 6-year-old who just talks absolute nonsense. So it's like I have found myself almost like checking in on people every so often that I would never do before. You know what I'm like with texting? I'm terrible at it. I'll leave them unread for days, or I'll read them and then think I've responded, but I actually haven't. Like, I'm terrible, but like I found myself like actually genuinely checking in on certain people, just being like, "Yo, did you watch fucking WandaVision last week? What the fuck?" Do you know what I mean? Just like stuff that I would never do before, but it is just that like these people that I'm texting are the people that I would see kind of regularly. Like,
I
mean, between me, you, Sam, and Johnny, at a point we would see each other at least once a week.
At least once a week, yeah.
In a studio, and now I can't even remember the last time I saw either of those guys.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I saw Johnny or Sam at all, and it kills me. Absolutely kills me.
Yeah.
Shout out to both Johnny and Sam. They both have their own podcasts rolling just now. Johnny's Rated Riffs, which is showing some of the best like heavy metal hardcore music out just now. And then Sam and his pal Lewis, they've just started one called Not So Casual Gamer. Their first episode just went out yesterday, which would have been the 10th. I don't know when we're actually releasing this, so I'm going to use dates because it won't be today. So it was the 10th of March they released their first episode, so you should go check that out if you're really into gaming. They will unpack the lore behind computer games. It's well beyond me. It's so beyond me. I'm just like,
I got really lost trying to listen to it. I was like, I don't even know what these video games are. Like,
yeah. I get lost playing Need for Speed, and these guys are talking about like the lore behind fucking Red Dead Redemption. Like, bro, I can't keep up. I cannot keep up. But yeah, so like, not being in a room with people, not being like around people, like I do feel as though I'm trying to keep in touch with people like that I care about deeply, and I want to make sure that they're kind of doing okay, because I know a lot of people are either doing it alone or they're not working, and I know that it just puts so much pressure on people. Like, I can't understand the pressure that you and everybody else is feeling, like just the kind of uncertainty of what the future holds. I mean, for us all, like I'm going by so unbelievably thankful and grateful that I have still got a job that I am working, like, as much as it takes up so much of my time, and it's quite high pressure and stuff. I still just don't take it for granted. Like, I could be in a much worse position than I am.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and like furlough and like work from home and all that kind of stuff is like a proper double-edged sword for everyone, you know. Like, there was people who really relish it because it did give them something to do, and it kind of kept their mind in the game and all that kind of stuff. Like, but then there's other people who, like myself, needed something to do to keep them going, and unfortunately those just seem to be the people who are on furlough. And you know, we all work 5 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever it is, you know, and that takes up the majority of our time. So when you've had that kind of taken away from you, there was either going to be people who really needed that break, and for the first wee while I definitely did, but then after that I was kind of like, whoa, please give me something to do, because I can't sit on my backside anymore. Like, there's only so much TV you can watch, you know. Yeah,
I mean, we started this far too late. Aren't you going back to work in like a month? We've just started this.
Well, I don't know when I'm going back to work. That's the reality of it. Like,
it's still just a pure grey area.
It could be the end of April if things are fine, but if not, then Who knows?
Who knows?
Who actually knows?
Who knows? That's brutal, man. Absolutely brutal. I mean, we came onto this, and I had the whole idea of asking you about your identity as being straight edge, and we've really fucking went off course most of these conversations. But also, we're now 45 minutes in, and like we've spoken about a lot of shit that is quite important. The other thing that I think you kind of touched on just when we were talking about it there, is what was there again? I asked you if there was a point where you felt as though you're like, fuck this, I'm out, I'm stopping. Was there a point where it felt like, fuck this, I'm out, I'm drinking again? Was there like another catalyst, or was it just like, you know what? I've been drinking 0% beer for months. Let's just turn that into 4.5%. Fuck it.
No, really, no. I think a big part of it for me was, you know, like I say, a lot of things changed last year, and I think I started really, not like taking a look at myself, because I hate that whole kind of idea of it. But I was like, what else can I do? You know, like let's rock the boat just a little bit more. And you know, like I'd been saying, like my relationship with sobriety had been fine. You know, it was very one-sided. I didn't really get a lot out of it. But I did also, you know, I've just been stupid. But it got to the point where I was just kind of like, why not? You know, like I am putting such a lot of pressure on just cracking open a beer.
Yeah.
And just like it doesn't have to be that much pressure. And like I said, like I was a different person when I was 18. I grew up a lot. I learned how to deal with a lot of things and not deal with a lot of things also. But I think it just kind of got to the point where I was like, whatever, man. Like, I'm going to become a yes man. I'm going to do this. Like, I spoke to Duncan about this quite a lot. Even before, like maybe a couple of months before I started drinking, we had like a big conversation about it one time, and we just became yes men because we kind of had to be, you know. Like, the only thing that was really holding us back was us. Not that we were like being held back from anything bad, but you know, like I think there's for me at least, my sober brain would only take me so far. You know, like Duncan's always drank. He's been on, like, he's always enjoyed it, and you know, I think like anyone have had nights where they've really not enjoyed it. And I think he took a step back for a little while, but he wasn't like sober or whatever. He was just like, this isn't for me right now, and that's fine. So he was always someone who I would tell him a lot of things about how I was feeling because we're quite similar in a lot of ways. And I know we're on the same wavelength for a lot. So, yeah, we were having this big conversation one night, and we just kind of said we had to become yes men more than wanted to become yes men, because we were holding ourselves back. Yeah, because we were taking too long to process all these things, and we were just like, we were just trying to get to a point where we were happy and doing stuff, but we would say no to a lot of things because of either our own insecurities or anxieties or whatever. We're kind of like, you might not have a good time, so why would you even risk it, you know? So we just became yes men, and we were having this conversation, and he kind of like nudged me and he was like, do you want to go to the casino? And I was like, I can't say no now, you know. We just spend the last 2 hours talking about being yes men, and then you were like, do you want to go to the casino? And I was like, aye, alright. So he actually put you in a corner. That was all a ploy. Yeah,
he just really wanted to go to the casino.
He knew.
Yeah. He was appeasing your feelings to then get to the casino eventually.
But then I think I took that conversation a couple of months after. So we'd already been in the pandemic and the lockdown for maybe 2 months at this point, month at the most. And I was like, why not? Like, what is actually stopping me from doing this? And the answer was me, 100%, because I was scared of what would happen, you know. So I was like, playing video games with the boys one night, and I went and I bought some beers, and I said, I put them in the fridge. I said to my parents, I was like, look, a couple of beers in the fridge. They might not be there in the morning, and if they aren't there in the morning, don't be worried. Everything's all right. I'm just, questioning a lot.
Yeah.
So that night came. I think we did like one of the first Zoom quizzes that we did, and I cracked a beer open. Fuck all happened. Like there was like no shining lights.
You put it on a pedestal.
I put it on a pedestal,
no fucking reason.
Yeah, there was like no trumpets. There was no nothing. I just had a beer and that was it.
Honestly, hearing you say this stuff is like, I can't remember who I had this conversation with, but I had a conversation with somebody last year, and it was like hearing you talk the way you do now compared to the way you used to talk 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You're just like, it's almost like you have transitioned into a completely different person, because you obviously are very kind of, you let your thoughts drive everything almost to the point of strangling it to death.
Yeah.
So this change that has been in you recently, like this turning into a yes man shit that you're going on, it's fucking amazing to see, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, I've seen you get in your way so many goddamn times in the amount of time I've known you, and seeing you taking yourself out of that equation now. You're managing to find a place where you can unscrew a little bit of that part.
Oh yeah,
that stops you from doing things. Like, there's obviously still shit that we're all dealing with that we will still trip ourselves up and get in our own way. But like, compared to what you used to be like, it's mental.
Right.
The change in you has been wild.
So, I was watching Hot Ones a while ago.
Obviously. Shout out. And, Sean Evans.
Our boy, Matthew McConaughey, was on there. And
oh, fuck off, man. Please, if you're about to start reading from this dude's book, I'm out.
No, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read from the book, even though I've only started reading it like on Monday or Tuesday, and I've got like a quarter of it left to go. It's unreal. I can't put it down. But like, he said something on it, and I'll murder it. But he's like, I've lived through more crisis in my mind than I have in real life, and I was like, he was like saying it a bit tongue in cheek, having a bit of a joke, but he really believes all of these things, and like, he is a joker. Like, he's that kind of guy, but he is really smart. Like I have been reading his book. His book is called Green Lights, and the green lights that he's talking about is like life giving you those little nudges and telling you that that you can do these things. And he's like, even red lights don't stay red forever, like. And it's not a self-help book. It's not like an autobiography. It's like chapters of his life that kind of gave him perspective, which I quite like. Like,
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it's not that like Matthew McConaughey changed my life or whatever, but like
he did.
But like, hearing him say things like, "I've lived through more crisis in my mind than I have in real life."
Yeah, that's resonated with you.
Because that is me. Like, I used to like make up these wild scenarios, and still from time to time.
Oh, wild. Fucking wild.
And still from time to time still do, because that's just who I am. I'm hardwired that way.
Yeah.
But like, I know now how to deal with it, and just be like, right, okay, fucking whatever, like, give yourself 10 minutes, you'll be fine. But like,
yeah,
I remember watching that episode and being like, this guy is a fucking clown, and then just being like, by the end of it, just being like, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I ordered his book, and his book is filled with like a lot of like little snippets like that, and I quite enjoy it.
Yeah,
I like the idea of like, you're getting in your own way, like, stop it, like.
Yeah.
And I did that for a long time. I would overanalyze every single situation that was happening in my life, and I'd try to rationalize it, but for whatever reason, I would like blow it out of the water with like how bad things actually were. It's just dumb, like, it's just human being shit. Like, we can't help it.
Yeah, all it is, Gary, is you love being dramatic, and it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We all know that guy. We all have those friends in our lives.
It's true. I am that guy, and I know I'm that guy. Like, like even like in like regards to like being in the band, like before we go on stage and stuff, I barely speak to people, like because I know I need to get myself in that mindset. I hate saying it out loud because it makes me sound like such a dick, but like, but it's true. But that's because I'm a dramatic person, you know. If I don't,
yeah.
When we play on stage, I'm this like angry looking, moody human being, and then we get off stage and I'm this angry looking like moody human being. I'm the same guy, it's just like ramped up a little bit when I'm on stage.
Yeah,
but I need to be dramatic enough in my life to get to that point, if you know what I mean. So I shut myself down and I become that person. And I think the same person who gets that level of drama is the same person that overthinks things, you know. Not that I'm saying that like being on stage or whatever is like a cathartic kind of thing, but it is to an extent, because it allows me to get all those kind of like, you know, you write lyrics based on what you know and your life experiences, and a lot of what I've written about over the last like 10 years has been stuff that I still struggle with on a day-to-day basis, and like, you know, I need to get that out. So now I'm like having to do it another way, so my brain makes every situation more dramatic and like exaggerates it to be something that's definitely not, just so I can act that out in my mind and then come back to it, which is dangerous because I can get myself into some really awkward positions because of it, you know.
Yeah, like you've come to me with stuff like that, and I will always let you sit and talk. I'll let you get it all out, and then I'll just sit back and go, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because like you turn it into like a massive. It's not like, this isn't a dig on your end, but it's just whatever goes on in your brain, like it turns it into something like so much more sinister than it needs to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fucking 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And it is just like, but then I feel like you're quite self-aware, because even when you're telling me these stories, even when you're telling me these scenarios, you're like, I know this is me. I know I'm doing this. I know this is me building it up.
Yeah.
You say these things as you're telling these stories because you're so self-aware of what your brain is doing.
Absolutely.
But you can't stop it. You can't stop it from doing those things.
Because how
but
do you stop it?
The fact that you are self-aware though helps you build that barrier between what is the actual reality and what is the reality that your brain has made up.
Yeah, like
so you still have that bit in the middle that can break it.
Like lately, like, not that I'm like getting into meditation or anything, but like I take like 10 minutes, like that's all it takes, just 10 minutes to sit down and go, oof, that was on your mind for a while, why? And I break it down a little bit. The last couple of weeks I've tried to like spend a little bit of time away from my phone in the morning, just because we're all suckers for that, you know. You wake up, you read the news, you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you know, like you can't help it, you're just stuck in that cycle. So I try to like, I still do that, but then I'll put my phone away, I'll go make breakfast, I'll stick on some coffee, I'll come back upstairs, I'll either read a bit of a book or I'll stick some music on, and I just sit there and I just kind of let it do its thing.
It's like you're that's kind of your opportunity to like purge yourself of those thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Just bring yourself back down to the level where you feel comfortable and you feel most at home.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. You like making your, like, because I know I'm not going to go too much into it because we're already at an hour, but I know how much you love cooking and how it brings you down to that level of like, this is like the purest art form I can make that brings me down to like a calm and like regular human being.
Yeah, because if I was to sit down and write, which I do, if I was to sit down and write, if I was in like the crux of it, like if I was feeling like super bad and I just sat down and I started writing, the stuff that I would write wouldn't be, it'd be raw and it'd be true and it'd be exactly what it needed to be, but it wouldn't make for good reading, because you're so in it. You're just saying things, you know, like I had a bit of a meltdown a couple of weeks ago. I wrote some stuff that was fine, and I read it back, and like there was like a line in it that was like, something when I wish I was dead, and I was like, but you don't think that at the time when your brain is like ramping it up to 11, you're like, you get out that thought. That's the thought that's in your head and it's away. But if I had sat down for 10 minutes, you know, did some deep breaths and really tried to understand what I was feeling, I wouldn't have written that line. I'm not going to go back and take it out because that line that I wrote at the time was very true, and it's exactly who I was, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a I can't remember his name, but it's like a really good quote. And he talks about how like he doesn't do like second drafts and stuff because as soon as he goes back and he starts taking things out or starts to like adjust it in certain ways, it doesn't feel like it's his art anymore. Because that second draft is like it's been censored, you know? Like, so it feels like it takes away from like the personality that he is trying to put into these pieces of art, like, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't want to edit himself. He wants himself to be his truest form.
Yeah, like I'll go back and I'll look at stuff and I'm like, that needs a comma because I'm just rambling, you know? But like, and if
I'm not saying commas,
like, but if I go back and I read a line and I'm like, that could be better, I will make it better, but I'll never go back and be like, oh, this is just trash and I need to change that completely. Like, if it is trash, it stays, basically, because it needs to.
Yeah. That's it's quite interesting, like how you would need to dial back, and I would always be of the stance of, see what we've written, like stay that course. That was the way you were feeling at that point in time, you know.
Yeah.
I mean that the only other thing that I was going to ask, just going back to the kind of the main topic that we were on, was at that point where you were saying that you said to your mum and dad, like, oh look, there's beer sitting in the fridge, please don't be mortified. Did you feel like you were putting any pressure on yourself when you were telling people, oh, by the way, I drink now? Because I remember when you told me, it was just a bit like, okay. Cool.
I think it was like damage limitations, if I'm being honest. Like, I told the people who I was super close with, I told the people who were going to see it, and the people I thought would maybe be shocked by it. Because it wasn't something that I wanted to talk about in the future. It was just a thing that happened, sound, done. But if I was like the one, if I was the one that brought it up and being like, oh, by the way, I'm going to do this thing, it means we don't have to talk about it in 6 weeks if I see you and I end up having a beer. Because I don't, the thing I don't want is to be like sat around people and like, oh, look at him back on the wagon. Like, that for me, that was more of the pressure, you know, like that was other people projecting onto me, and I didn't want that. Yeah. So I thought if I tell people and I do things the right way and just kind of like make sure people know that I'm in a good space, I'm not drinking because I'm like about to hit the sauce real hard or whatever, like I just wanted people to, like the people who I knew that cared about me, to not worry when they saw it happen, and I didn't want to have to deal with any awkward jokes, because I dealt with that when I was sober, you know, like the first couple of months of where people were like, oh, you sure you can't be tempted to have a wee drink? And I was like, no, I don't want that, like, you know, and I hated it. It stopped happening very quickly because people knew that once I said no, that was it. Like, that was it, And that's always been the way that I think a lot of people have dealt with me and how I deal with things. Like, if I say no, it usually just means I'm not doing it. Like, don't try and twist my arm. Whereas now that I'm
super stubborn. Yeah,
I'm stubborn. Like, and also it's my life. If I don't want to do something, I won't do it, you know?
Not a bad thing at all.
No. So I think I was just trying to get all that out of the way because I didn't want there to be like any sort of awkwardness. Oh my god, man, those works outside your house are ridiculous. What is that?
That was cutting timber and shit.
Yeah, that was insane. Like, I thought I was having a blackout. Like,
it's pretty bad. But I mean, that's probably, I mean, the fact that they're now coming into my house as well to do stuff in my windows is probably a good time to actually start wrapping this up. I had notes on here for other things, and we didn't even get to them, so I'll save them for another time.
Perfect.
But the only other bit I would add to the end of this is I just want to say a thank you to the 100 views that we had on YouTube on our trailer in the first 24 hours. That was really cool. There's actually been a lot of like kind of positive reaction to it already from people I know, and that's actually, it's been really nice. Like, I've heard from people that I've not really spoke to in a while, and it's let me kind of open up a wee conversation with people that I've not had a chance to speak to for a while. So I'm glad that this is it's resonating with some people, and I'm looking forward to what we do, what we keep doing. People can find us on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. There will be new episodes every Tuesday. We will record this at some point in life and we'll put out a new one every Tuesday, and try and just keep it going until somebody tells us to stop, really.
Yeah, until we get cease and desist for someone. Like,
because we blasphemed somebody too hard.
Yeah, we did something. We did something bad.
Yeah, if you have listened to this all the way through, then thank you very much. And yeah, just come find us on Instagram. That's probably where we're actually going to post updates and stuff. That's where you'll see when new episodes have went up. We'll try and keep it going every week. Yeah, and if you like it, then tell us. Like, you can go on Instagram or you can put comments on things. We will read them because we have nothing else to do. There is also a Gmail somewhere, like I think it's deadendfriendspodcast@gmail.com. If you really feel so hard to send us an email, one of us will read it at some point in life.
Yep.
All good.
Yeah, that's it. Just like, share, and subscribe, baby. You know how it is. This is a life.
Smash the like, bro.
You know, it's fine.
Oh, that's going to have to happen. You get a soundboard.
Yes.
Absolutely need to get a soundboard.
Until then, I'll just do it with my mouth. It'll be fine.
Like you're fucking Michael Winslow from Police Academy, man.
I don't know if he's doing anything
That's
just now.
illegal.
We get him on. Like, just
Just
sit in the corner or do something.
He can be our soundboard.
Perfect.
Michael, hit it. That's so good. Right, well, yeah, I'm going to hit the off button again. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you again next week.
Yeah, speak to you later. Love you. Bye.